right. I will start talking as people file in. For our guests, feel free to put in the chat where you're joining us from, what city. We'd love to hear from you. We got an incredible lineup of Youth Poets Laureate from the state of California. This reading is part of this larger initiative to really celebrate California youth poets, but also show the incredible depth of the movement of Youth Poet Laureate programs in California. There are more Youth Poet Laureate programs in California than any other state. It's also the only state in the country where there is legislation that has been passed to name a California State Youth Poet Laureate. That's in the works right now. So we will have a California State Youth Poet Laureate at some point in the future, working with the Arts Council on that. And so I'm just really excited to invite all these incredible poets. We got a pretty large representative sampling of Youth Poets Laureate from California. There are some that are missing from other programs, just had other things with school, etc. This reading series is in partnership with Beyond Baroque. Beyond Baroque is one of the longest running literary arts centers in the United States. They have a beautiful center in Venice, California. So if you're ever in the LA area, come check them out. They have a bookstore and everything like that. They do a lot of workshops and readings, and they also support the Los Angeles Youth Poet Laureate program. So that's just an amazing center to check out. And it's just a testament to their work that they're still thriving despite pandemic, lack of funding for arts organizations and all of that. So I'm really grateful for the partnership. I work for an organization called Urban Word. Urban Word founded the Youth Poet Laureate program in 2008, based in New York City, but I actually live in Long Beach, California for the past 5 years. Tomorrow night is the National Youth, not tomorrow night, I'm sorry, Friday night is the National Youth Poet Laureate commencement performance. So there will be a performance of the 4 finalists for the National Youth Poet Laureate. That's going to be held at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. on the Millennium Stage. And the great news about that is that that will be live streamed. So that happens at 6 p.m. on Friday, which will be 3 p.m. in the West Coast. I will drop the link for that live stream in the chat during this event. And also, we are also hosting on June 11th in downtown Los Angeles at the Public Library, the Los Angeles Youth Poet Laureate final event. So if anybody happens to be in the area, you're more than welcome to come to that. It's our first in-person event, both the national and the Los Angeles event in over 2 years. So with all of that said, I'm really excited to get to the poets. We have a great lineup, so all these poets are going to read one poem and just really just show them some love with claps, emojis, all of that stuff that we do in this weird virtual universe. But it's my pleasure to kick things off with the Sonoma County Youth Poet Laureate. Please welcome Ella Wen.
Hi, everyone. So I just wanted to say it's a really big privilege to be a part of such a lovely community. It's such an honor being here. And I just wanted to begin with a preface of this poem. It's something I wrote when, very late at night, and it's just kind of to symbolize what I feel like when I don't have a voice, and perhaps that can connect with other people. So the poem is called Written in Words. My body, my mind, my soul is etched in your ink. My eyes described in letters, my face constructed with words, my thoughts written beforehand, me eroded to sentences. I have become this finite anecdote author, you, and the more I feel this array of alphabetical assault seeping deep within my skin, aimed at me like antagonistic arrows, telling me to say less and then to say more, to dress less and then to dress more, to be less and then to be more. And I began to realize that words are powerful. They are entities and they can hurt but heal all at the same time, simultaneously powerful. And I know words too. I too have a pen. My pen is infinite, the ink seeping within pages. I too know how to write. I just didn't know until now. My body, my mind, my soul is so much more than what you wrote. Your narrative so clothed with ignorance and facades of apologies, I am experiencing all the pain there is. Don't write my story for me. Thank you so much.
Right.
Thank you so much, Ella. Beautiful work. Love it. So we're going to keep things moving. The next poet to read tonight is the Santa Clara Youth Poet Laureate, Anna Yang.
Thank you so much. I'd also like to just give a little preface. The poem I'll be reading is one that I wrote a month ago, but one that I wanted to share today, especially with the recent news on the possible overturning of Roe v. Wade. And that's like an issue that I really care about. So just a quick content warning, there are mentions of abuse and sexual assault, and this poem is entitled Motherhood. I was in 6th grade when my grandma, holding my head against her perfumed cardigan, told me that motherhood is a gift. It is the birth of a child that completes our lives, that makes us into happier wives. Motherhood is a gift with spices as her love language, like a dash of sugar when I spill the tea, sarcastic nutmeg on the way home from school, and angry turmeric waiting for me at the dinner table. Motherhood is a gift for the children who grow up in rocking chairs, the ones who know hunger as a 3 p.m. gummy bear. They think they are mother enough, but that is far from motherhood because there are girls in my class who bleed unspoken pleas, whose mothers don't cook with spices, but with words like hot oil. See, motherhood is not a gift. There are mothers in crumbling houses being beaten and berated, a husband tossing beer bottles, screaming living is overrated. For her, motherhood is a nightmare. Is watching her children grow up like their fathers, is the taste of blood in the mouths of their daughters. Motherhood is not always a wanted gift. It is not smothered in colorful tissue paper, no bows plastered on the sides. When I don't want a gift, I politely decline, say thank you so much, but I can't accept this. However, in Texas, a lady is not allowed to decline motherhood. The gift is shoved down the throats of women, aborting their rights to have a choice for their own bodies. Pro-lifers will say, we value the life and dignity of every human person, except where is the value for these young women, for the children born into poverty, for the broken homes they might be faced to be raised in? Motherhood is Amy Coney Barrett in an apron, living a comfortable life, a woman who loves so much that her affection for 7 children is not simply enough. She loves motherhood so much that she believes it is the only choice for the women of America, illegalizes our option of saying no to her gift of motherhood. I wish motherhood was a gift everyone could enjoy, an open gesture of affection, but motherhood is not always a gift of love. Instead, it can be the salt in a victim's battle wound, forced to prolong the unwanted experience and now burdened to raise her child in this selectively forgiving world. Sometimes motherhood is not a gift, but a vehicle of destruction, the blinding of our eyes from Carolina Reapers and ghost fathers, heralded by the sharp cry of a newborn. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Anna. That was a very powerful piece. And thanks to folks, I like this. Thanks for starting the trend, Zoe, of putting lines in the chat that you love. Germani, I saw a few folks putting those in there, so feel free to do that. We love that in these virtual events. So next up, speaking of Germani, newly minted. Okay, we're gonna jump right back in. Newly minted Hayward Youth Poet Laureate, please give it up for Germani A. Latchison.
Okay, thank you. This poem, I'm not gonna lie, it's a really old poem actually, but when I read that we were supposed to be talking about what represents us or where we come from, I had the perfect poem, I felt like, for me and what represents my community. So this one is called The Ghetto We're Used to. Believe it or not, we all live in the ghetto. Even the kids with roller coaster rides to college and hands down, face up, skin bright, won't shoot. Those who wonder what's for dinner instead of when's my next meal. Yes, even those who hold the whip must feel the wrath. Some of us live in a ghetto of our own creation, like loving them whether they hold their fist open or closed, like drinking poison potions and eating late night lovers, yet tasting the blood of another, bonded to
Let's give it a second.
penetrating needles and black threads to follow, or bullets sing our lullabies and nobody is surprised. Y'all might be thinking that sounds more like the projects, or that don't happen where I live. For the rest of us, this hits close to home, like how black bodies hit the floor. Let me make this more familiar. Your ghetto may be where your mom crumbles under your dad's weight, or your dad packed his bags at the gate, or you grew up in group homes all around the state and you just can't see how this is ghetto, but trust me, this is just the ghetto in which you are used to, where teachers say it's too late for a clean slate and dudes hate using condoms till it's too late, and baby mama drama is a common phrase where sex is never safe and herpes hides almost everybody's face, where lies is the new language and the brightest smiles are the new Google Translate. When I hate you and I love you mean the same thing, and the slur that used to bind us now hides in the shadows of our native tongue, and the rope that used to keep us hung now ties us into those in which we used to shun, because now we know, even though all skin folk ain't kinfolk, this ghetto will destroy us if we've got nobody to talk to. That's why some of us would rather feel pain than nothing, making our tears a salty treat. And I don't know about you, but that seems pretty damn ghetto to me. Thank you.
Thanks, Germani. Powerful work. Congratulations on your new title. I'm excited to welcome up the Santa Barbara County Youth Poet Laureate Ambassador, Kundai Chikowero. Let's hear it for Kundai.
Hello. So I originally was going to read one of the poems that I wrote for one of the Santa Barbara Martin Luther King Day shows, but I decided on reading another poem that I wrote. So this one is I wrote this in my religion class for one of my schools. We're basically just talking about like the existence of like a God and just like the existence in general. And I think that topic really just sparked my interest because one of my majors here is philosophy. And so, yeah, just like what is existence basically is like a really common theme in philosophy. So my poem doesn't have a title yet, but here it is. Quantum ontology. To define the smallest entity, to me, God is and also isn't. To try to unfold existence from the realms of society, the definition of naivety. From the binds of social norms, incoherent and contradictory. Both existing and not existing, by definition, and an impossibility. From the mind of a human, flawed by definition, a speck in the multiverse, the mind and the soul, yearning for answers in the metaphysical. What is to be, what not to be. To compute what is incomputable, a dilemma by definition, an illogical web that simply cannot be untangled. To be, we must simply be, find comfort in the unknown, for the unknown is the known, and the answer is no answer. Metaphysics, not axiology, logic, and ethics. None can explain the answer of what is to be. That was it.
Thanks, Kundai. That was beautiful. And Santa Barbara looks pretty gorgeous right now as well. If that's where you are.
I'm actually on my campus in Thousand Oaks, but yeah.
That looks great. Cool. Thank you for reading. Next up, we have the Alameda County Youth Poet Laureate. Please give it up for Zoe Dorado.
Hey everyone. So this poem I'm about to share is a commission piece I wrote for the SCIU UHW, which is this labor union for healthcare workers in California. And I wrote this during Women's History Month, specifically thinking about my mom, who works as a nurse, and all the physical and mental exhaustion she carries, both currently and even before COVID. So this poem is titled, What Are the Consequences of Silence? If the consequence of movement is stillness, eventually there is rest on the couch. My mom lifts her head to sink deeper until her eyelids unravel. I imagine I am horizontal, like the world is bending just to lay me down again, and me, still reaching to pull this lined heartbeat closer. A hospital room beating as feet shuffle and run back and forth through the floor outside. Tell me the vitals are good enough. I want to unhook these untangled cables from the monitor until the crest of its waves lift me out of this water. Say, woman, and I'll tell you that a rebirth always comes in a release of breath, drenched and heavy with ocean, spit, and womb. She brings it dripping from her hair into the house every day, trickling down from her mouth to mine. Give me an entrance to understand this soundless dialogue. Track the lineage of movement until it catches you at the front line, at burnout, at hours that stretch and curl around your body until it becomes a part of you, walking, because everything has to be alive or compensated these days, because the consequence of work is exhaustion. And the consequence of exhaustion is going home again, home, as in I thought this as a place for rest, but no mother gets compensated in this unnamed sacrifice, because Florence Nightingale's nerves were also in fact frayed. My nerves are frayed and every little thing becomes infuriating, as in, I don't like it when your sister talks back. I don't like it when you talk back. I'm listening to everything you say and it is so loud. And when they tell you to pray only to what they put on a pedestal, give you an ode to your endless reservoir of patience and forgiving, who they named a source of calm at work like angel, like angelic nurse and mother and woman always at work. How much can you pack into your shift before you lose your shit? Keep moving, not recognizing that the consequence of movement is stillness. Eventually, I say woman, and I'm not trying to put you at the end of some kind of altar, but I'm still trying to reach towards you. So ode to your focus and dexterity and drive towards more than keeping people hopeful and inspired. Ode to action, ode to unions, the ones that counter narratives of putting you on a pedestal. Ode to everything beyond images of perfect womanhood and perfect girlhood. And so, ode to loudness and quietness, and the spectrum that holds both ends like arms, reaching out to you, holding you right there. Because the consequence of silence is two people breathing each other in, his mom on the couch, is sleep. And the consequence of sleep is waking up. And the consequence of waking up is living, knowing you were able to rest. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Zoe. I was just thinking it's no surprise that I think 5 out of the 6 years, the West Coast regional winner, which is one of the finalists for the National Youth Poet Laureate, has come out of the state of California. So you all are in great company with your work. You have poet laureates, adults that are helping you in your various programs. Shout out to Janice and a couple of the other folks that I've seen on this thread. So we're going to keep the reading going with the Ventura County Youth Poet Laureate. Please welcome Genesis Perez.
Hello, everybody. This poem is from my book, Flash Photography. And I also wrote about my mom. So when I was listening to Zoe's poem, I was just like, yes, we love our nurse moms are so strong and so tough. And this is a poem that I wrote for my mom. And it's called Gifts. Christmas on the coast of SoCal gives no promise of snow or cold. And the tall tree in the living room has few presents. Mama sighs, it's going to be a small Christmas. It's the price of education for two daughters, one under Christ and the other under the SoCal sun. But Christmas, it's not once a year for mothers. Every day is the opportunity to give to your children. That's why my mama takes me to protests. We carry banners and brandish our voices. An educated woman is dangerous. I told my mama protesting is my new cardio, and she responds with, "What's the good fight today?" My mama takes me to protests. She wants me to be loud, unless I'm in the house. Then I should use my inside voice. It's a small living room. The other day, I told my mama, it's hard for other women in our family. And I leaned forward to absorb her wisdom. She said with a smile, "You're just so pretty. People can't leave us alone." Every day is Christmas with genetics like this. There's confidence in this crooked smile. My mama takes me to protest because she wants me to know I'm strong. The other day, I asked her if she was sad when I quit dance for wrestling, traded point shoes for pinning combinations, and she said no. She's proud of me. Also, I would probably get my ass kicked if I hadn't. My mama had me in college, battled grades and a breakup, and always took care of her baby girl. We moved from apartment to apartment, trailer park, no shame. Because now we have our little house in SoCal, where Christmas is every single day.
Okay, Genesis, great work. Folks commenting on your stage presence to make that translate over a screen is remarkable. All of you, really. So congratulations. I always tell people, the judging of Youth Poet Laureate isn't really on performance, but all the Youth Poet Laureates always read really well and perform their work really well. So it's just an extra bonus. So we're going to keep it going. We actually have two Daly City poets that are going to read. So first up, I'd like to welcome the 2021-2022 Daly City Youth Poet Laureate, Madeline Pure.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me. It's really hard to type on my phone, but I'm so overwhelmed by how much talent there is. And I feel so inspired by all of you. So thank you for putting this together. Just for a blurb, this poem is about what poetry means to me and kind of my relationship with my grandmother. And despite having a language barrier, poetry brought us together. So this is called The Witchiness of My Dendrochronological Inheritance. Dendrochronology is a study of tree time. My grandmother hates witches. She hates their ancient brooms, their terribly paired monochrome outfits, their supernatural ways. She hates the way they can put you under hypnosis with a concoction from a family recipe, their beautiful mysteriousness. But amidst the Texan winter, she uncloaked her poetry, cradling them as if a fragile puzzle. She gestured for me to look. And out slipped the one word she ever chose to learn, and I felt it slam like tossed paperweight and rusting chains. Her words slammed like paperweights and chains, and I saw the rest of it stream from her papers. It was a storage for the wreckage of cherry blossoms, and her memory of running she keeps like food in her endless hibernation, and in her burrow she talks, and I hear the echo. The word was filmed over with something so unfamiliar, resided between Korean characters which should be mine too, but to which I am a stranger. It is the infesting core of my grandmother and hers, lasting generations and skidding to the halt at the outlier feeble point of mine. From the depths she murmured, pain, and I could not understand, but it was to me at that time a necessity. The world rolled off her tongue following the scorched tracks it left from the million other times she said it. In her English veil that she constructed just for me to understand, I watched a rosy-cheeked answer peer through train windows and never exit the cart. Like the sad story of Hachiko, and I am the dog. I'll tell you that in this loose skin I dragged, I scoured through pages of history to fill the rest of this vastness. that I dug mazes through myself until I punctured skin to find the same burrow my grandmother hides in. I'll tell you that those pages were revolutionary to me, but real to my mother, and that I am my mother's mime, mirroring her horrified, remembering expressions as she read about comfort women. I'll tell you that those same pages started tasting grimy in my mouth, but when I searched to find the taste, I found that it had just been my act, me, my mother's mime. I'll tell you that at the Korean War Memorial, I broke not because I felt their pain, but because I couldn't. That I spent hours searching for a face in that reflective wall to bring back some memory of their voices I swore I had. But these crafts of ours are xylem rings, parietal paintings tending to the flame in our flickering campfire. These crafts of ours are what builds a bridge from wreckage and shines a brilliant route out of morn. My grandmother is a witch-hating, magic-hating woman, a sinking, drowning woman. But when I tell you that four-letter word, when regurgitated onto printed paper and healed by her hand like an elegant loom, boosts her to fly and connects me to ground, you can understand that it is bewitching. There was nothing that made more sense than those words, those scramble of words carefully woven together, that tapestry of unfamiliar characters that didn't make sense and the whole product that did. This piece we wove together lies like a bridge, and I can finally walk across to meet her for the very first time, meet me for the very first time. And I thank her, and I thank it, her lyrics, her enchantment, her poem, and all that flooded down to me. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. That was really beautiful. We have so many Bay Area programs. It's amazing. Daly City, Oakland, Alameda County, Hayward, Richmond, Santa Clara County, right down the road. So Bay Area shows up strong. It's such a beautiful, rich literary tradition there. Thank you for your work. And I'm going to introduce another Bay Area poet, the new 2022-2023 Daly City Youth Poet Laureate is Chloe Chao. Welcome, Chloe.
Hi, I'm so grateful to be here tonight with all of you. All of you have such amazing poetry, and especially taking the term after Madeline, I feel like really pressured to keep up the legacy of what she made because her poetry is just amazing. Okay, so the poem I'll be sharing today is titled Origami. I wrote this one a few weeks ago, and I wanted to illustrate how our lives are often dependent on the relationships that we have. And even though these relationships aren't perfect, they can keep us grounded. I begin to love her through the cracks of perfection. She watches the gray of morning, the screeching of birds at dusk. She watches these things, and I watch her, thinking of the adjectives that break through the screaming silence, and they shatter before I can think of one to describe her. We take the cable car to the dock. I find her floating through her dreams. I wonder how someone can feel so comfortable in her own body, and she moves as deliberately as the passing of the seasons. She teaches me how to fold paper cranes, her hands brushing against mine as we work through the steps. We make them with uneven wings, and we hang them all up anyway, yarn stringing through their delicate paper bodies. The passing of the seasons begin to bleed into each other, and I am not ready to let go of her yet. Will you meet me at the same time tomorrow? Thank you.
Great work, Chloe. And you have no problem following Madeline. You're doing great. So congratulations on being the Youth Poet Laureate in Daly City. Next up, representing Orange County, which the organization that runs the Orange County Youth Poet Laureate program is one that I really love. It's called Libros Mobile, and they're based out of Santa Ana, so you should check them out. They run a BIPOC-led bookstore, BIPOC-led art gallery. Sarah Rafael Garcia is the director over there and has been really leading powerful work in Santa Ana and the rest of Orange County. And they launched the program this year. So I'm happy to welcome the Orange County Youth Poet Laureate, Tina Mai.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. And I just wanted to echo Michael there and say that Sarah is amazing. You guys should check out Libro Mobile Bookstore if you're around there. Everyone here is super talented, and I wanted to follow the theme of sharing a poem that comes from my identity and culture and heritage. And the poem that I'll be reading tonight is called Atlas, and it's dedicated to my parents. 1. Mother hid me in the spaces between bones so I can sketch across the unknown of my flesh. So my topography is pressed flat with her immigration, so we are not smudged into the bruises of the earth. Where she was from, women grew from water, their heritage held in the jade of the river's womb like echoes stitched against the shore. If they could carve words out of water, then we could carve narratives from our skin, prayers from our lungs for all the daughters raised from bone, bodies from our bloodlines for all the ancestors without faces, without stories. We could sketch wingspans to wrap us in an equator, a latitude drawn from the outlines of our mothers, flowing, flightless. 2. My father in the picture is but a projection, a legacy suspended in 5 dimensions, preserved in roots. And in his stories, he is but a boy with a lineage beneath the river, a gaze reeled in by the fisherman's rod, a cartographer of his own origin. Like him, we hold on to action films and weave quests into our biography, maybe because the hero looks like a reflection we had once seen in a dream. Like him, I know what it means to trace the smudges on a treasure map and run away with nothing but a compass and blind ambition, and I know the truth when they say immigrants cannot be heroes. We cross oceans not as quests, but as whole generations, and he is like Atlas holding up the world for us, chasing all the things we left behind. 3. Perhaps someday I would be able to realize my skin is the map of the world, but today I can only whisper my name and compare my birthplace to paper towns, to the heroes they don't believe will ever be, to the memory of a daughter contoured in borders and bone. Today, I can only begin my quest to find my narrative in a land washed away, my heritage in the ocean whose waves won't turn back, will not stop their dance until they wipe out the coordinates of the shore. 4. Maybe then I can plot where I'm meant to be. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Tina. We're getting down to the end of our reading, sadly. But I am excited to welcome up the Santa Barbara Youth Poet Laureate, Madeline Miller. Please welcome Madeline.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I hadn't been paying enough attention to the theme, so I had something else that I was going to read, but I remembered a poem that I have that is about my sister, which is not necessarily heritage, but it is probably the strongest identifier I have with family and a past. So I'm going to read that one. Song for my sister. Poets love to write about Eurydice, love to talk about her tragedy. Poets love Lot's wife, love that the way she lost her life was by looking. Sometimes my sister and I swap songs in the kitchen. She plays me Taylor Swift while I scrub saucepans, and I put on Joy Division while she clears cutting boards. The night before I turn 18, I am staring down Perseus as I drop heavy words into Olivia's lap. Sticks and stones, precious gems and lead. There are things about adulthood that terrify me. Forgetting childhood, becoming impassive, failing. I didn't always think I'd live this long, I tell her. A dead weight of ways I am not the older sister. My friends are older sisters, eldest daughters. Well, while they were filling out college applications, I was piercing my nose in the bathroom mirror, trying for a transformation. Will I be forgiven for the ways it's hard to be human? For the times I was the one who left the milk out, and the times you were the one who got yelled at? For the way I refused to rush off to college, and for the way you're already being rushed? For the way that when I stumble, someone always turns to tell you, don't trip. And for the way that when I fall, bumbling, breaking, barmy, unbearably self-obsessed, I land in your bed crying. When I fall asleep on the floor in my jeans, sometimes I dream of a pirate ship. Sometimes I dream I'm drowning. You wade in and find me, lost inside myself. I was standing at the kitchen sink, blasting Lou Reed, bouncing out of my body, trying to tell you where all my love comes from. And you shouted back to me, I hear you and I see you, but I do not understand. You must know what the gods knew back then in their strange mercy, that the worst curse was to turn away. You love me when I cannot love myself, and it matters because you know me. I watch you from across the kitchen table. You have already forgiven me for so much I can hardly stand it. But there's no way to tell you this, so when you slide me the butter dish, all I can say is thank you.
A beautiful tribute to your sister. Thank you for that. So I think we might be at the end. I'm not sure if Adriana was supposed to go last, but I haven't seen her show up in the Zoom. Is Adriana here? I want to just check before I go on to what would be the last poet if Adriana is not here. So it doesn't look like she is. We'll just have to get her into the mix for the next reading that we have. So we're at the very end here, and I just want to say congratulations to all of you. This has been a really beautiful reading. So closing us out from another beautiful place. I have really close friends that live in Mendocino County. The Mendocino County Youth Poet Laureate is Sidney Reggelbruge. Please welcome Sidney.
Hi, I fully had another poem that I was going to read, and then I sat down outside of my dad's classroom after leaving school and getting ready to go to softball practice and started to write next to my best friend. And I was like, okay, I'm going to challenge myself to do something new. So this is a poem that I think kind of captures maybe like the impasse of growing up between childhood and adulthood and kind of the uncertainty that follows with that. It's called Daydreams and Missed Memories. My fingertips race the piano, which I no longer play. Dust collecting over the black and white keys, contrasting to another childhood daydream. Did I see myself here at 16, trading in the hot pink sweater for bootcut jeans, and a persona I have adopted from the people around me? I still love the smell of the ocean, or how its cold flames lick my feet. When walking around the shore, trying desperately to collect another memory, even a possible daydream. From my small elementary school, which I looked at daily with an almost melancholy glance. A few secrets, a few days from my past. I'm already mourning my childhood, while my teddy bear from age 5 sits on my shelf, watching me dabble in adolescence and fear, trying so hard to live in the present, yet watching the tapes of my childhood and the previews of my adulthood. Journaling my daydreams, while 10-year-old me confesses her love to a boy who would and will never love her back. Yet the wedding bells rang and my diary spilled. The secrets that I now tell my best friend over FaceTime as she describes falling in love. What is that like from 3,000 miles away? As I experience it today. Uncertain emotions and jealousy, the teenage recipe for angst. Yet I love my mother, but I cry at the new strands of gray at her temples, wishing desperately to claim a few childhood hours back, sitting in that fairy ring. As the sun shines across my playground, where the redwoods have grown with me, the swing floating through the air, carrying the ghost of my childhood and the yap of that little black dog. Another redwood fern floats, bracing the ground with its life. Thank you so much.
Hey, great job, Sidney. First draft. We have a reading in New York that we call First Draft. So you got an exclusive. So I just want to really thank everybody for joining us tonight, especially the poets. It's really an honor to kind of collect all of you into one space from all over such a diversely big and beautiful state. To have us all in one place to share poetry is just beautiful. We will share more information about the California Youth Poet Laureate program as it comes out. I'm assuming it'll probably be this fall for the new school year. So all Youth Poet Laureates that are currently in California will be able to apply to that. I'll put the link for the event on Friday night at the Kennedy Center. So they'll be broadcasting that through their YouTube page as well as through their Facebook Live page, the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. There is a California poet named Jessica Kim, who's from Los Angeles, that is a finalist this year. You'll get to see 4 finalists, as well as the current National Youth Poet Laureate will be passing the torch to the winner, and her name is Alexandra Nguyen from Sacramento. So she's the second national winner from California. You might have heard of the first one. Her name is Amanda Gorman. But with that said, please keep an eye out for our next reading. We do these pretty much every month or every 2 months, and we just spotlight different California poets. This is the first time that we did one with all the Youth Poet Laureates, and it's been great. So really appreciate you all, and keep up the incredible writing. And just, if you need anything, you're always feel to reach out to us at Urban Word and the National Youth Poet Laureate Program. Thank you, Beyond Baroque, for hosting this event, and Jimmy. And with that said, I'm going to wish you all a great night. Talk to you all later.